Hi there. I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to something that you may not be familiar with and know that you have access to, and that is Teachers Pay Teachers Digital Activities tool. As always, Teachers Pay Teachers is looking for ways that they can help teachers and their students to learn. And when you use these digital activities, what it will allow you to do is to take something that's traditionally a paper worksheet in your normal classroom setting and to also be able to use it as a digital worksheet. Right now, they are only using it through the Google Classroom platform, but they do have plans down the road to try to hook it up with other learning management systems. So keep that in mind. So what do I mean and how does this work? This is an actual view of one of the PDF sets, the Bach Critical Thinking set. And right away, as a buyer, you are going to know if this is going to be compatible to use digitally in Google Classroom because of this button or box over here where it says to create a digital activity. Now, you don't need the author or the seller to do this for you because you yourself have access to this whenever you see this. Now, why is this important and how can you use it? So strictly saying here, this was traditionally just a paper worksheet type thing. And if I go back to my PDF here of it, you will see that the first activity in that particular set involved cutting and pasting, and students can't do that online. But through that digital tool that you are offered through Teachers Pay Teachers, you can now create an activity and have them do this online. So with this particular worksheet, the students were asked to basically cut and paste, and the cut and paste activities, they would be given a half a sheet over here on the left, and they would cut out these rectangles and they had to place them in order so that the story would make sense. And then they would paste those down here on the worksheet and rewrite the sentences. But you can't do that digitally on a computer or a laptop or a tablet. But with the digital tool, what would have been previously unusable as a digital resource, now you can still use that same worksheet that you already have access to. So what you can do is you can provide special instructions for any of these worksheets, and students can simply type on them. They can write on them with their fingers if they're using a tablet, or they can use the mouse as a pen, and there's also a highlighting option. So for instance, in this particular packet, there are a bunch or variety of activities for students to do. This was a cut and paste type thing, so students could now simply use the pen tool to click and say the order. So they could write 1 here, or if they didn't feel very good with the pen, they could use the text tool and type it so that you could say, well, you know that when he was little, that would be number 2. They can choose the actual size of the font and the color that they want. And then there's an area, instead of handwriting it, there's an area down here now for them to actually go ahead and type it. However, as a teacher, you have access to editing what I've already done. So if you want them to actually physically write on a tablet or something like that, you could take out this answer box and you could actually have them use a stylus or their fingers on a tablet to handwrite on the handwritten lines that were underneath it. The same thing goes for the older students' version of the sequencing writing activities. Scrambling up the words, where before the students wouldn't have been able to do this online. Now you've got a digital tool, you can assign it through Google Classroom. And because I couldn't fit a word list on this, on the actual paper, what I was able to do is I could put the list over here so that it will help more of your students even. Here is one specifically for the older students, and you'll notice that the lines are thinner here for the answer boxes, and the reason is because, again, if you looked at the original version of the worksheet, you would notice something. It's over here on the left-hand side. You could see how it originally looked as a paper resource, and it had those letter boxes to help students try to figure out with their letters and to form them as they unscrambled the words. But now in a digital age, you can still use that, and it's going to look like this. That's why it has the bigger boxes. Even with things like the cryptograms that you see here, that would have been hard for you to assign in Google Classroom. But now, because of the digital tool, you can make these and use these through the Google Classroom platform. So you have a multi-purpose thing now. It's not just a paper resource that you can use, but you can use it also as a digital resource. Students would simply follow the directions, and you can alter these directions as you wish. They would, the way it's planned right now that I've done for this particular resource, students would simply type in with the text tool, and they would type in the letters of the missing letters for this hidden message here. It's the same type of thing for the crack the code. And then one of my favorites is the hidden message. So one of the cool things that they offer with the digital tool is that students can use a highlighter. That means if you've purchased one of my sets that has word searches in it, and if you notice that it has that the red button that you can create a digital activity, you can still use those word searches online. So you don't even have to print them up anymore. And here's how easy that is. So I put the instructions in over here for the students, and it says that they can use the highlighter or the pen tool, and that's kind of up to you. As I said, if you've already purchased this resource, you can edit out that instruction if you only want them to use one or the other. But what I love about this is the highlighter tool. So as we know, students are supposed to, in word searches, find those words. And so with the highlighter, they're going to click on the highlight button. And right now, because it's in the testing phase, there's only one highlighter color, and that's yellow. But the students have the option of picking how thick or thin they want the line to be. Now I'm going to demonstrate for you what this would look like. I'm going to select thick for right now on the highlighter, and I found the word Baroque that is part of my word search here. I'm going to go ahead and cross that out, and all I'm doing is I'm using the mouse to click and drag this down, and the students could do this with their finger on a tablet, and now I found my word Baroque. And the students can utilize this with the diagonal words, with the up and down words, with the across words. It doesn't matter. And then with this particular, the hidden message sets, what you'll find is that after the students have found the actual words that are in the word list, they have to then reveal the hidden message. And so the hidden message has to do with unused letters. And if you take a look, I happen to know that this hidden message starts with the word I once walked, and you'll notice it because I put this little clue over here for the students to use those remaining letters, and they start from the top left. So they use these unused letters here. So they would plot out the I, and so they would type that in down here, and it's reminding them to use capital letters. And then if you take a look, it's the word at once, so they would plot this out. And they would finish their hidden message. So now what is happening is you can take those paper worksheets that you could only use in classroom, and now you can use them through your learning management systems. And like I said, right now it's only through Google Classroom, but you can actually use them hopefully in the future with other systems. Even something like a biography, that can be utilized as an actual worksheet. So watch what happens. Because this particular resource has the colored and the black and white option, I chose to keep the colored option for the digital. I think that's more attractive to the students. And there are 4 basic levels of the biographies themselves. So what I did is with the upper end for the higher level students, you will see that I have some special instructions on here. I am taking my basic biography now, and I am turning it into a worksheet amongst itself. So now as you assign this or something like this to your students, you're asking them to read about the composer, but then you are asking them to do special things like highlight the name of the composer. I'll show you what that looks like on their end. So this is the student view. So now they would take the highlighter and click and drag it over his name in the article as it says down here. Continuing on, because I could take this biography and turn it into its own worksheet, I also put in here in the box below to name the 2 groups or organizations where John Williams has been a conductor. So students need to track through here and find out the 2 places, and then they would type their answers right here in the answer box. And then I keep going. I said to look at the list of the movies for which he's written, and I asked them, as I'm talking about, they're the soundtracks, and I'm asking them to say which one has the best theme, because it talks about theme as one of the vocabulary words, and to tell me why. So they put their answer here in the box. And then there are a couple other things that I was able to have them do. They could find and underline the genres that he's known for, and the genres are listed over here on the left-hand side of the actual article. And then the last thing I decided to have them do was that they should highlight any movies they have seen or the ones that they want to see. So I'm making the basic biography that we just usually read into an actual virtual worksheet now. One other super cool feature of the digital tool activity is that you can actually take something that is printed this way. If you take a look at the left hand, and you see over here how there were the 2 pages of the passport here and how they are not in the direction that students would be able to write on. That was something that we would cut out and we'd have them cut out and paste to put together their passports. But you could still use those activities if you wanted in a digital format, because there's this neat little tool over here that says rotate. So watch what happens. As I click rotate, it's upside down. I'm going to keep clicking it, and now that page is accessible to students. So you could insert things like the answer box for their name and their class, so they could put that in there. You could put in the same thing for the answer boxes over here. And now what was once only strictly a paper product that you used, you can now turn it into a digital accessible tool for you and your students. As I mentioned, you are going to know whether you have access to this for a particular product by looking for this button over here. When you click on something like that, it may open up something that the seller has already created themselves, and just like what I showed you with the Bach things, and even with the John Williams biographies. But you, when you click on that and you download what I've done already, or maybe I haven't done it, but if I have done it, you can actually change and take out the directions, change up and do your own questions and things like that. Now, when you think about that, that's a lot of pros for the digital activities tool for a teacher, especially since they've thought about how they're saving you money and how you can reuse a paper product as an alternative for a digital product now, or a digital resource for your students. There are 2 cons that I can think of. The first one isn't really a con to me because I understand what Teachers Pay Teachers is doing, and that is one of the things that they are doing is they are collecting some data. And so you are granting them permission. Basically, the laws state that whenever they are dealing with online services and it deals with a child who is under the age of 13, they have to obtain parental permission. But parental permission in the education world comes from your school and from teachers as well. A lot of teachers get freaked out about this, but basically Google and all of the other learning management systems do the same exact thing. And when you look at the actual terms of use that Teachers Pay Teachers has done, they state that they are collecting this data for a couple of different reasons, and they state what they are collecting too. Basically, they are collecting the information because they want to know how students and teachers are using this, and they want to know how it can benefit the learning experience for the children and for the teacher. They don't display ads, and that their student tools are intended to create interactive learning experiences, which normally it would have been just a paper product. And then they also talk about how they collect the student's name, but that's basically so that they can make sure that the actual student is in and it's not somebody else trying to log in as them. And they are collecting what types of responses that the students and the teachers are using, whether they're using the text boxes, drawings, and things like that. They want to know what are the favorites and how they can improve upon things. And then they also take a look at the Google identity. Again, they are just simply authenticating that it's that user. They are also collecting the device and browser that people are using things on. And while they say they may collect the IP address that's associated with it, really they're not doing much with that. Again, these are all things that basically Google and the other LMS services are doing themselves. You just may not have been aware of that. They want to know basically how their digital tool is working on the different browsers and on the different devices so that they can help to make them even better. So as I'm scrolling through here, you can take a look at this too. This is available to you through Teachers Pay Teachers as well. They are looking at analytics to understand how their services can be used, and they want to see how many users they're having with this and the type of events, so the types of products and things that their people are using these for. They're also collecting data because they want to know about security and operations. They want to maintain as safe as an environment for all of us so that people don't hack into things. And then they do freely say that they don't sell the personal information about the student user. Again, overall, it's to help them, Teachers Pay Teachers, to improve and provide better services for you, for our students, and for or I guess that's for myself. The only other con to me right now is that I still like the actual products that are developed specifically to use within Google. I like the colorful choices. I know that my students like the color options and stuff like that too. And when you purchase an actual resource that was devised to use through Google, students can click and drag things, they can maneuver things around, whereas with the digital tools activity, they can't do that. It's strictly you're taking a paper worksheet and you're inserting you an answer box, but it is allowing you to be able to use that resource in more than one format now. Don't forget, you can click on any of those buttons down or the links down here underneath to learn more about it and to get the slideshow that I have right here myself. And then don't be afraid to test it out and to try things out for yourself and see how it works. Let me know in the Q&A section if you have questions, and you can always contact Teachers Pay Teachers too. We're all in this together, and I think they've really tried to look out for the teachers, trying to save you a little bit money, me as well, and still let our students use some resources that were valuable to us so that would help them to learn in a different environment like distance learning. So for now, that's it. Let me know what you think. Good luck.